Ronald Taylor, the head of a diversity and inclusion at Mizuho, basically, he took his 20 years of experience and he's starting there as their head of diversity and inclusion. They basically told him, hey, fix this thing. So Ron, what do you got for us?
Well, first, I'll give you the name. It's Mizuho, Mizuho. And you know, thank you, Kelvin, Dave. Thank you guys for putting this on. I'm going to be, you know, Ken always brings it. Ken always 200%. I say, don't put me any place near where Ken is speaking, because when Ken's speaking, I feel like, you know, I need to take notes and really kind of like learn from Ken. But I'm going to start, Kelvin, with my disclaimer before I talk about best practices for new CDOs. Any remarks I make today are going to be my own, do not necessarily represent Mizuho Americas or Mizuho Financial Group. And, you know, I think today of all days, I need to make sure that I make that disclaimer because I'm tired. I am exhausted. And I'm not, you know, the decision yesterday has just got me reeling. And I'm, you know, I appreciate that you guys are doing this and that you're putting this platform and that you're giving us this voice, but you know, coming off of things like what we just got yesterday has just got me reeling. So I've got some notes here. I might go through them, I might not. I could go completely off on a completely different tangent. But one thing that I know, you know, in terms of a couple of things. So Forrest, you mentioned $7.6 billion. You know, get some of that money and put some of that money to work in your organization. Think from best practices for a new CDO. If you had told me 20 years ago, I'd still be doing this. Like Ken, I'm a recovering CPA. But if you told me when I intentionally moved into this space 20 years ago that I would still be having these exact same conversations, I would have laughed at you. I thought this was going to be a quick run. We had some of the smartest people working on this stuff. We were going to get this fixed and we were going to move on to bigger and better things. Well, we're still here. And there's a reason we're still here. And I know one of the speakers talked on microaggressions and just unconscious bias and all the things that we get, you know, cerebral. We get it academically, but we haven't made any real input or movement in that space. We're not addressing the elephants in the room. You know, you have the CEO of Wells Fargo that says, well, there's no talent out there. We just can't find them. Elephant in the room right there. You're leaning into a bias that you need to pack up and throw away. But let me get back on point. Practices for new CDOs. I was just on LinkedIn. I was looking. There were 20 plus positions for chief diversity officers on LinkedIn. That's one of the things I was doing as we were kind of going into this. Some of those companies I've never heard of. Some of those companies, and you talk about have gotten woke. I don't know if they've gotten woke. I think they've gotten scared. I think they've gotten scared, and now all of a sudden this is something that they need. So if you're a new CDO, before you even go into a role, I would say just kick the tires. Make sure it's not performative. Make sure it's real, that these companies want this for the right reasons, not because they feel like they're falling behind or they're losing market share, whatever. Make sure it's the right reason, and you're going to do that by having seriously bold conversations with the folks that you're talking to. If it's performative, stay away from it, unless that's what you're into. If you want to take $500,000 to go and sit and be the guy who sits by the door, I was going to reference one of my favorite books from the 70s, The Spook Who Sat by the Door, but I'm not going to say that. Then go ahead. But you know what, stay away from me if that's your attitude. If you just want to take the money and make sure that, you know, people are comfortable and people are feeling good, do that, but stay away from me, because that's not what I'm in this for. If you want to join a company that's authentic, then go in and really challenge that leadership. Challenge them with your questions. The interview is a two-way interview. So you're asking them, you know, you want to make sure you're going someplace where you're going to be successful with something that you're passionate about. Challenge the heck out of that leadership. And if they tell you they've got all the answers and, you know, we just need you to come in here and, you know, we'll call you when we need you, be careful. You know, but if they come in, to Kelvin's point, and they say, you know, we need help. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know how to fix this. We don't know what we're missing. We want you to come in with your levels of expertise or whatever it is, and we want you to help us do that. and then make sure that they're really at the table with you. This isn't, I've been with Mizuho now for 2.5 months, and I came over because I did hear through a lot of those leadership conversations exactly what I needed to hear from that leadership. A true commitment, a vulnerability, things that I really needed to hear to know, okay, we can work on this together. One correction I've made over the last 2 months has really been, a lot of folks are like, we're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're here. You're going to make this better. My pushback to all of them is, I'm so glad you're here because we're going to make this better. This isn't a one-person, one-stop shop where, again, Ron Taylor is going to come in and fix this organization or any organization. So I think, it's important that everybody knows that they have skin in this game. Everybody knows they have skin in this game, and that everybody knows they have a right during these conversations around diversity and inclusion. So after 3 sleepless nights after watching 8 minutes and 46 seconds of, I'm still not sure of what I saw a murder. I penned something, and I've been sharing this and socializing this. So I want to share it now. And it's about rights. George Floyd didn't get rights. He didn't get Miranda. He didn't get his rights in that situation. George Floyd was murdered on a media forum, and everybody got to see that. So I really started thinking about, well, what are the rights as they relate to this conversation in corporate around diversity and inclusion? A lot of the old rules around talking about diversity and race and religion and politics, or you name it, I think got thrown out the window. And so the rights that I want to just share with you, you have the right not to remain silent. Anything you say, if you choose to exercise this right, know that anything you say can and will be used to change the course of history. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to be sad. You have the right to be frustrated, confused, and conflicted. You have the right to be an ally. And if you're not sure how to do that, let's figure it out together. And then just really remember that history has its eye on you. I opened every single one of my sessions going back to May with these rights, because I want everybody to know that they have that voice at this table. And if you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're claiming allyship, and that allyship comes across as performative versus authentic, you really need to go in a quiet time and ask yourself, why is this important to me? Back to the subject. So for new chief diversity officers, what else can you do besides making sure that you have leadership buy-in? What's always worked for me has been a sort of a top-down, bottom-up approach. So really engaging that grassroots, whether you've got employee resource groups, other groups. I think somebody was talking about sort of just engaging with the businesses and making sure that you're in with the businesses, follow the money, if you will, and just making sure that those groups are all working towards the same goal. I think as a chief diversity officer, we're kind of the glue that brings it all together. There's no part of our organization that's kind of immune to the work that we're doing. I have to get to know every single one of the 2,700 America's employees at Mizuho in order to do my job right. So I think that that's super important from a chief diversity officer perspective, is that you're touching every single aspect and every single point, part of the organization. And then I guess I'll stop with this. There's some incredible momentum. So whether folks are doing this because they're scared or because they're woke, we've got incredible momentum right now, and we just need to leverage the heck out of that. So if we got folks saying we need to do this, I'm not sure why we need to do it, but everybody else is doing it, take it and leverage it and ride it and make it work. And let's just do that. So as chief diversity officers, it's not the time to be quiet and shy and timid and all of the above. It's really time to be bold and to push this thing forward. And I'll just steal this from John Lewis. It's time to get into some good trouble. Thank you.